Judy's, yeah, we should make sure we speak loud enough so that it's heard clearly, because Judy's gonna do her minutes off the recording. Someone's here. It'll pan around. It'll pan around when, yeah. And say something.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, you can see over there now. Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. It is, Monday, June 15th, 2026 at 6:30 PM. This is the regular meeting of the Sterling Planning and Zoning Commission. We do not have any alternates to seat. So we call the meeting to order. First order of business, I invite everyone to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, audience comments. Do you have any comments before we start? Questions, concerns, complaints? None.
When you look up.
You say anything for when you get home. Okay. Approval of minutes. Anyone had a chance to read the meeting minutes from last month? I did not have any changes.
Right. Make a motion to approve the Monday, 18th.
Yeah, second?
2026.
Yep. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries, 3-0. Correspondence. We do not have any correspondence. Unfinished business. We don't have any unfinished business. New business. One lot subdivision application by Stephen and Brenda Lindsay. 250 Calvin Fence Road. John Turbin has arrived. For the record. Did you see right here? They have no interest. Oh, ready for me? We're ready for you. All right. If you could, men, profession, for the record, just because we don't have our secretary here, she's gonna be working off the recording.
Absolutely. My name is Paul Archer with Archer Surveying, representing Stephen Lindsay. Mr. Lindsay and his wife who owned a piece of property that's. Hi, Jim. Oh. Okay.
We stole Jim's regular seat, by the way, so he's.
He's discombobulated.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
Oh, you see?
He's like.
Oh, I've been discombobulated. So they own roughly a piece of property that's roughly 35 acres, of which they are looking to cut a 5-acre chunk out of in front here. We have gone ahead and have health department approval on this. We have a B100A approval on this. And all they are looking to do is to build a single-family 3-bedroom home on the 5 acres of land. The only thing that what we are still missing is wetlands approval. Okay, we have submitted 2 wetlands. I actually talked to Joe Thoreau this morning, and Joe Thoreau was going to be looking at this, and probably they're giving the agent approval at next week's meeting. But I know you guys.
Which is fine, because we can't rule on this tonight, so if they can get that approved for the next meeting.
That is correct. So that's the brief overview of what's here. It's really a very simple, it's a frontage 5-acre lot being cut out of a 35-acre lot, and getting in one lot subdivision.
Do you, I see everything is pushed towards the north side of the north,
The northwesterly
corner?
corner, correct.
Are there wetlands on the rest of the?
There are no
property that we're
wetlands,
avoiding?
no. The only wetlands is gonna be the, dealing with the Quandock Brook here, but there are no wetlands at all dealing with what we're dealing.
Okay,
That's why we're at the point with Joe, that we think he's just gonna be, it's just gonna be an agent. It's really not an agent approval, it's just a letter stating that,
yeah,
or
so,
correspondence more than anything else, because the wetlands can't give us an approval because there's nothing jurisdictionally for them to approve.
um, yeah, when I saw this, I said, oh, I wonder if there's wetlands out here somewhere that they kept everything.
No, that's just the way the Lindsay
Inside.
wanted to do it.
Um,
Like I said, we've gone through and we had the health department put us through a little bit of a ringer where they wanted a subdivision, and then they also wanted what they called a B100A application, even though it is a subdivision, it's the same thing as a B100A application. So we turned around and we have all that, and I believe you have all that in your pack.
so will this fall under the one lot free split?
It's not a free split. That's why we're here.
Free
because
split has already been taken at that lot,
Correct,
next
Okay.
adjacent to it.
right.
Okay,
So that's why we're here for a subdivision.
okay.
Now, do you guys have a fee in lieu of open space for one lot? Or
We
how,
just
That's
changed
why I
that,
asked, yeah,
so I do not believe the, open space requirement applies. It only applies for lots, I believe you changed it to lots,
or a grade or something?
yeah, something like that.
Okay,
So I don't think an open space, there is an open space requirement.
that's what I was just, looking up here to see what,
That would be in section 8.
yeah, you might think it's going to a family member anyways.
Don't say that, because then we have to add on some language in it.
Okay, it's not.
What did you say?
No, it is. Did you see anything glaring on it?
I haven't, but I will say I haven't had an opportunity to actually look at it in too much detail. The only thing that, as I had mentioned to you, was that whether or not, the road dedication,
Oh,
25 foot from the center line of the road will be required. If it's necessary, depending on how much.
I mean, we don't have as you can see, we don't have a limited space, so if it's something that the town you guys would like, it is available to do. The other thing that we sometimes offer too is they take easements instead of the actual feeding. Could you give them an easement for 25 feet off the center line for road purposes if it's ever needed? Same thing.
I don't know if there's language that's that specific in the regulations. Usually it ends up being something determined by, town engineer and specifically by Joe.
Okay.
Joe usually reviews that kind of stuff, from a surveyor standpoint as to how it's worded and all that kind of stuff, but, I'd have to check and see, one, whether it's even needed, okay, in this case and that type of thing, but look at it in a little more detail. Cause there's nothing, I don't think there's any adjacent subdivisions that have
Nothing that's
anything
correct.
already, dedicated.
Jim, section 8.0. The commission shall require the dedication of land as open space, parks and playgrounds in all subdivisions of 2 lots or more when it deems that such land will conserve natural or scenic resources. So we're not subdividing. Two lots anymore.
Yeah, so I don't think, yeah, 'cause that's something that we just changed.
Yeah.
Recently. I believe previously it was, every lot.
Yes.
And I haven't had an opportunity to look and make sure the buildable polygon and everything is.
Well, it's easy, there's no wetlands on the property, so it's polygon.
Does Sterling structure have to be in the polygon? The house doesn't? Only the well?
Even if it doesn't, it's just, I mean, we have, it's 5 acres of, and it's not a. It's a rectangle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Right, the polygon can be as big as it has to be.
correct, and
Right.
wherever it has to be. I think one of the biggest problems I think Sterling has is the whole well arc radius has to be on the property.
On the property, yes. But with a 5 acre lot, that's not an issue.
There wasn't an issue. Yeah.
So Jim, it's a technicality, but I mean, it's pretty obvious that the variable polygon is not an issue on this
Right,
property at all.
We could show it.
That does that mean that it doesn't have to be shown on the plan?
right, I mean, there may be things that have to be updated on
We
the
may
plan.
have to ask for that.
Right, the buildable polygon is shown on the plan, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the buildable polygon is shown on the plan, and that's the only reason I had asked about the,
Oh,
because the house isn't within the buildable polygon, and I know some towns
I couldn't
do
see that.
require that the building be in it, and some towns
Well,
don't require the building be in
of
it.
it's in there.
And I don't remember whether yours specifically allows the structure not to have to be in the buildable polygon.
But if you want me to take that buildable polygon and slide it over, we can do that. And so, if you look here. So the buildable polygon line comes down right through here.
Right, you could move that.
We
over.
could slide this whole thing right over up against the setback line, so you can do it.
Right, I mean, with the,
Yes,
it's not like you're trying to squeeze it in, so it could. And you're showing the minimum, I'm sure, size of the buildable polygon, when it could actually be
bigger, but it's
bigger.
you just
It just
require a
becomes-
rectangle,
Right.
but it doesn't require that your house be in it. Which makes no sense.
I know, I'm not a fan of the
Yeah, we can make that change on the next round.
buildable polygon, period, so.
And here's the other thing, if you're thinking about same with the well arc radius around the well, which is great, you guys approve it and all that stuff, but the health department could care less. So when the people
Right.
go to actually build it and you do an as-built, you know, the health department doesn't care if the whole well arc is on your property.
Right, so that's a matter of meeting two sets of regulations and that's the overlap. So that's the part that makes your job.
But the problem is you guys don't sometimes require an as-built, you don't require a septic system as-built, you require a foundation as-built. So sometimes you don't even have to show your well on the as-built for you people, because that doesn't mean, the septic system well where that doesn't mean anything. Interesting. So if you follow that.
And to take that one step further, what I'm finding out is that you can get exceptions to all of that from the state health department for the well distances anyway.
Correct.
Because you see it happen all the time on lake districts where they cannot meet that 75-foot well radius from septic systems or from each other.
Correct, so they can reduce it to 50.
Or less.
Right.
Whatever the landowner requests, they just can't do it because of the lot sizes. And I have yet to see one denied.
So just going line by line through our subdivision regulations, first making sure that it's a complete application, which I believe it is, I don't see anything missing, I mean, there's requirements for, some really detailed things like archaeological items or historic stone walls, but.
I mean, there's a cemetery on the other property, but it's not on the property that's being developed.
Yeah, so it seems that some of these, very detailed items don't exist and therefore are not
Jim, we
documented.
might want to add do some silk fence to it too. If we have time, we can add some silk fence to the front on the road side. Just to keep anything from washing onto the road
Right.
during construction. Even though there's no wetlands on it, but the silk fence, we don't show.
The road is at 508 and the disturbed area is down at,
Down lower, but I would still run a series of silk fence here just to keep it and anything from going down. Correct. We are pitching away from the road.
yeah, it's downhill, so
Right. I would,
nothing would ever reach that silt fence. Cause we're not seeing. So we're not showing any erosion and sedimentation control.
we're not showing anything right now, correct?
Do we need something though?
Well, that was my question.
What are we protecting?
Dude,
We don't have any streams, we don't have any, well, I mean, based on this drawing, I don't see any sensitive area that we're protecting, but.
For one lot subdivision like this, the big question is gonna be where the driveway connects to the roadway. Whether you have adequate sight line and whether there's going to be any drainage issues with that connection to the road. So to make sure that the driveway isn't impacting any drainage with the roadway or that the property isn't adversely draining anything.
Yeah, well, from the
Or
road,
that's not gonna affect any of the roadway drainage.
the
if
road
there is
to the
any roadway
proposed
drainage
house site
in that
is
area.
downhill, so it's away from the road.
and the other thing, I'm just reading these plans, we are showing 25 feet off the center line of the road. For the property line.
Okay, so you may not even need to worry about any of that.
Yeah, he's got that, that's pretty clearly labeled right here. And the sight line on the road is really good. The road's almost straight here. I mean, obviously, we can't see brush or trees or rocks or something else that's protruding out, but.
I mean, I don't know what Calvin French Road is, my guess is probably a 25-mile-an-hour road.
It's a tiny road, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my guess, and I think you could see, probably, I think your requirements would probably be 200 feet in each direction. which is basically across the front of our property.
He's like 75, I mean.
Now, there's nothing in your regulation that the underground, it has to be underground power, is there? We can be overhead power?
We don't have a regulation on that.
No, I think it's just coordination with, Eversource. I don't think there's anything that requires it from, alright.
Because some towns have subdivision and all power for subdivisions are underground. But I don't remember seeing that
No,
here.
we don't have. At least not to my knowledge. I haven't seen it. And I read this one. Okay. John, you have any comments? Questions?
Yeah, no question.
No, it looks good. This looks fairly straightforward. I'm not seeing anything, here or there. Or missing. It seems to be a complete application. And you're within at my first glance, because like I said, we're just seeing this for the first time tonight. I'm not seeing anything that's conflicting with the regulations yet. So this will go to next month's meeting.
Which is fine.
You'll have your wetland approval by then, we'll assume. A ruling could be made at next month's here.
Perfect. Do you see anything else, Jim? Close me up.
You guys have any questions? Thank you. Jim, you have any other thoughts before we?
Fine. Not at this point. We can, and if I find anything, I can, I will forward it out to them.
Okay. Thank you. All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Archer.
I need.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Okay, moving on, CEO report. There are 4 items. I'll just read through those. CEO report, we have 4 items on here. I'll just read through them briefly, just so that everybody can hear. Number 1, respond to inquiries from data analysts regarding Sterling zoning districts. Staff advised that the town of Sterling currently maintains a single zoning district under its zoning regulations. Number 2,
Regarding Sterling.
I'm
It's not Sterling.
not sure.
Or that's
I
like,
guess call John or email him and ask him for more detail. I don't know that. But yeah, maybe reach out to John and ask him for further detail.
What was the statement again?
Responded to inquiries from data analysts regarding Sterling zoning districts. And their reply was that Sterling maintains a single zoning district under current regulations.
We're looking to put more warehouses.
Data analysts working for whom? For the state, for a private entity, I don't know.
I mean, sometimes, cause we will often get them where people are just looking for general data information. just to put into either a software or an application that they may have so that they can, provide it to either their customers,
Yeah,
or in kind of a general way, or if I was just doing general research on a project, sometimes they'll do that.
Steve's on it.
With a chance, I'll have my secretary phone.
Yeah. Number two, assisted real estate professionals and property owners by providing information regarding permitted uses, dimensional requirements, and development potential for individual parcels. Okay. Number three, respond to inquiries concerning prospective subdivision applications, including discussions of applicable regulatory requirements, review procedures, and submission expectations.
This may have been.
This application, right, yeah, or maybe we'll be seeing another one soon. Number four, reviewed and approved zoning permit applications for new single-family homes, accessory structures, including garages, above ground and in-ground swimming pools and decks. Comment, question? Yeah. Moving on, other business. Regulation priorities, number one, discussion of section 4.03, which Jim has an update. Text amendment update for discussion. Yes, you got a paragraph down to 2 sentences. Yeah, everyone's looking at that. So this is a proposed text amendment to section 4.03 frontage. So it's a very long and wordy and confusing description that we have now. And this will be made more concise and will read, whenever any dwelling is established or expanded, or any non-residential use is established or expanded, after the effective date of these regulations, the lot must have the following continuous frontage along a street. There shall be no more than 2 rear lots per 500 feet of continuous frontage in a street. And then we refer to our table for frontage of each type of land use. It's much cleaner. Yeah, I agree. Jim, do you,
Right, I think that was one that you guys had already
is that
kind
the
of
one that we already did?
went over. 5.03, which is on the second page, was the last one
So
we were talking about,
That's the only new one?
that you guys, were wordsmithing at the last meeting, at the end of last meeting.
Yeah,
Now, one of the things that I did notice, I also emailed, to the board, you guys, a copy of
yeah.
this. If you look at, if everyone still has that copy, otherwise I brought more, if
Yeah,
anyone needed one.
Where is that from?
This was a document from 2012, part of a full set of regulations that came before the Planning and Zoning Commission at that time. I actually didn't bring that full set, I think, with me, but, today anyway, that didn't get, adopted. Because I think at the time it was a big chunk for the town to swallow, because it was breaking the town into multiple zones, and it was actually taking the step into a more, permitted uses as opposed to, whereas now your regulations are set so that basically identifying what uses are prohibited more than what uses are permitted. Whereas the town is all one zoning district and, you identify more of what is prohibited within the zone and not what is, permitted. You just identify certain things that are permitted by different, different procedures. Whereas I think those regulations create a village district, and a specific types of uses that were allowed within the village district. And I think because of that, it was kind of shelved.
Yeah, it was, people were scared of it. It was
Right.
too much all at once.
What year was this, you said?
I think it was 2012, but there was still a full draft of it that was filed with the town clerk. And a lot of the language, as you can see within this document, was still very similar to what you had currently had. So to that end, if you looked at in that document under the, okay, I only print one page, under the non-conforming, oh yeah, there it is, under non-conforming, lots. That first paragraph, I think actually may read
Similar to the other one.
a lot easier than the one that you guys are currently wordsmithing. Or there could be parts of that paragraph that I think what you guys were working on that one was trying to reduce, again, the amount of words and repetition in that section 5.03 to make it less confusing.
I do think this one reads more clearly and easier to understand.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Where it says under exceptions, A1, where two houses exist in one residential lot, each unit will be considered non-conforming and may not be expanded. That is literally my property.
Yeah, you got a lot more acreage.
Yeah, I think that, under the exceptions, I think that was something that was created because of those 2012 regulations created different zones and specified different uses that were allowed within those zones. So exceptions had to be created to accommodate for that. So I would, at this stage, because you don't have different districts, I don't think that you would need to add
The exception.
the exceptions, although I suppose the exceptions could, I mean, that similar type of language may be able to be utilized in another way.
yeah, it's a little, I mean, it is, well, it's definitely very strict.
Right, because
Yes.
the way, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, the way I'm reading it is like, if I wanted to add on to my house or the little house, this is saying, I can't. Correct?
Right, which is why it's very, very strict. There should be a path or whatever the request in the application, there should be a path to get there. This doesn't allow any type of path, this is just
Yeah.
like, you're out.
So this is just, you're just providing this as information?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
this is just an example of something that was,
You probably would have to subdivide.
We would have to, we couldn't use it as it's written anyway, because it specifically indicates a residential lot. We don't distinguish between residential and non-residential.
Yeah, but I mean, I have a residential lot with two.
So this thing that Jim gave us was something that's really old from 2012, and
It was
it
never.
was never adopted. I assumed because we went to town meetings and nobody liked it.
Correct.
So I assumed that if we did this again, nobody would like it.
Right. Yeah, well, I was just clarifying, like, are we talking about replacing what we have?
no, what I'm saying is just
No.
section
No, no, no.
704.
Gotcha.
So the paragraph under section 04,
Right, 704 is,
the wording of that one paragraph is not even 704.1. Just 704 is very similar to the current 5.03.
Yes.
In my
But yet
opinion,
it's very
Jimmy,
much
you should
more
have just
clear.
provided that paragraph instead of the whole page.
I know, but the issue is that because it's the scanned document and I don't have it in a Word,
yeah.
I can't actually just go in and copy and paste
There's
that
just
thing
one
out.
physical copy,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't have it in digital,
Should
where
have
you
a
can just
redaction
carve out what
point.
you want.
So people like, you know.
My marker?
Almost out a little.
What?
in my opinion, what we have now is more clear than the 700.
Then
Or you
704.
like it better?
I like it better, but there's like, I have a question, like, why do we cross out minimum buildable area on the, that's something we probably talked about last time. but I
Because it
don't remember.
conflicts with, I think what we discussed last month was that it conflicted with, it conflicted.
The
with-
previous page, because we started
Yeah.
calling them, right, because we started calling it the minimum lot size instead of minimum area.
A minimum lot size would be 2 acres. Whereas that buildable area thing is at 150 by 150 foot square. Or no, the 30,000, but it has to have the square inside of it. So my concern would be if you crossed it out as we have it now, that would mean someone with an existing home on a non-conforming lot, if they couldn't fit a 30,000 square foot buildable area with 150 by 150 foot square, they can't do anything. They can't add to their house or anything. They can't put a porch on or anything like that.
Well, a minimum lot must have buildable area as part of the lot. So
Not
it
necessarily.
would be redundant, wouldn't it? If it's a,
We're talking about non-conforming lots. Non-conforming lots do not meet the requirements of what we're doing now in our subdivision.
right, and it may be because it doesn't have the buildable area. That would make it a non-conforming lot.
Yeah, but what we're saying here is, non-conforming.
It's not buildable, it doesn't have the frontage.
So that would mean if you have a non-conforming lot, we deleted that and you left it with that text there. Not having a minimum buildable area does not prevent you from adding to your house. Because it's talking about these regulations shall not prevent the construction or expansion of a permitted structure or of a permitted use for a non-conforming lot that does not contain minimum lot size. It also makes it non-conforming, minimum lot size. Minimum buildable area, that would make something non-conforming. Or minimum lot frontage, that would make it non-conforming. So these are things that don't, so we're calling these things out because we don't want those to prevent somebody that has an existing house from being able to do something. And add a bathroom, add a porch.
No, yeah,
Whatever.
I completely understand your,
So we don't wanna delete that.
but if we if all of those items were contained in one reference word, whether it's a minimum, what would it be? I don't know what the word would be. It might,
I mean, the minimum buildable area is in that section 700 thing.
because it could be a non-conforming lot
Right.
for many reasons. Any of these reasons would make it a non-conforming lot.
Correct.
So could you not, and this would be a question for Jim, would it not, could you state that just state it as a non-conforming lot? Do you have to state why it's a non-conforming lot?
No,
within
it's
the
not, it's
definition?
just saying, what this is saying, a non-conforming lot is something that doesn't apply to the section before. And in the section before, it implied that in order to build on a lot, it has to be.
It has to have the
It has to be
minimum
a
area,
conforming.
the minimum buildable area, minimum road frontage.
Right, so this is saying, so when we go to the section before, saying you have to have something like that. You
Right.
don't have this, you can't build on it because it's non-conforming. And
Right.
this is giving you an exception.
Well, a non-conforming lot is something that they own, they didn't just buy, right?
It's something, it's something before our existing
It's before the
regulations went
date
into
of
effect.
2004, July 23rd, 2004.
So I would say, what did you look at, Jim, like 2 acres, is that what your thing was when you were looking at lots?
Yeah.
Yep, and you came up with how
Yeah.
many lots? A whole bunch.
Yeah, there's many.
So all those lots that you found are non-conforming, so
Right.
if we didn't have this paragraph here, nobody could do anything with them.
So why?
Which is why we have.
Yeah,
Now, we
but
want these
I-
exceptions. And all Jim looked at was 2 acre lots. There's also, if it doesn't have a minimum buildable area with 150 by 150 foot square in it, that's also a non-compliant lot, so whatever we found gets bigger. Okay, if it doesn't have 250 foot of frontage, it's also a non-compliant lot, so it even gets bigger. So
So,
before you know it, most homes in the town are unable to add on to their homes.
But the issue with the minimum buildable area is, the purpose of the minimum buildable area is to construct utilities and a structure, which is already there.
That's
It's
so,
already there.
well, not necessarily, you have non-conforming lots that have nothing on it.
Right. That's why we have two sections. We have non-conforming lots and then we have non-conforming buildings and structures.
Well, I
We
don't
don't
think
wanna confuse those two.
non-conforming, yeah, they're different things.
Right.
So if I have a home on a non-conforming lot and I wanna do something, a porch, a driveway, addition, a garage, whatever, if we don't have this paragraph here, and I don't have the minimum lot size, I can't do anything.
But
If I don't have the minimum buildable area, I can't do anything.
But if you already have a house there,
Yeah, you have a house, but you
you have a
can't,
buildable area already,
no.
I would
No,
imagine.
no, you don't.
No, no,
No,
no.
you don't necessarily have to. It could have been built before that requirement or.
There was
it
probably
built under
some
a different
other
requirement.
different requirements for when it was built.
Right. It may have complied when it was built and it doesn't now because the regulations.
So the things that we say
Or vice
that we still wanna keep in place are things like, setback.
Yeah, that's what they,
We wanna keep where the well is. We wanna keep how far away, well, we don't have this in our thing, but there's a distance the septic has to be from the house.
Right, it has to meet.
But that's a health
It has to meet, well, it has to meet current zoning regulations. Still has to meet current regulations.
Right, so these are just current zoning regulations too, but we're
It's not
accepting.
saying you don't have to meet current regulations. You do. It's just what if your lot doesn't meet current regulations?
Which is a
You
lot,
can't change
which is a lot of people's lots, so, and that's what I think these words are trying to address. So I have across the street from you, there's several homes on lots that are 150 foot wide. So that would mean, that would be, it'd have to be perfect for that 150 by 150 foot square to fit in there. Everything would be perfect.
Right, so
You
that's,
couldn't
that's
have
a
like, remember
non-conforming lot.
we had the person come here that had this little pond in the back, it was 10 feet into the vertical area and they couldn't subdivide it, so.
Right.
So because that person has a 150-foot wide lot, should he not be able to make his deck a little bit bigger? That seems foolish.
Oh, yeah, we're all in agreement on that,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, that's what we're trying to, that's what we're trying to make clearer, is that because your lot or your, which is section 5.03 or section 5.02, where your building is not complying with current regulations, doesn't mean that you can't do anything with it. We're trying to clean up the language so that it's more clear that you can do,
So,
you can add, you can change, you can,
okay,
because it currently reads like you can't change you can't add on or
it was
alter
actually,
your building because it's not in compliance, or it's not with the current.
it doesn't, it says you can, but it's kind of confusing. So we're
Right.
trying to clean it up.
Exactly.
Would it be easier, I think, you said this, Jason, that if we just eliminated the descriptions of the non-conforming lot, so haven't we already defined that? If we're gonna list them again here?
Yeah, I think that's why that's why Jim has these crossed out as a suggestion, because we've already.
Well, if
within-
you
within the
include
definition-
lot size, that kind of restricts you a lot though, too. I mean, just take that. Do we wanna, you know what I'm saying? If-
Oh, what you're saying is like, after the word non-conforming lot, put a period and it will
Correct.
delete everything.
Well, it just, well,
Right, because
everything.
you're already saying that it's a non-conforming lot, and it could be a non-conforming lot for the reason of it doesn't have the minimum buildable area, or it doesn't have the minimum road frontage.
So I think if we do that, I don't know if I agree with that though. It 100% makes sense, but. So if that's the case, why do we even, let me find something.
I would think you'd have to list stuff.
But isn't it already defined?
Well, if it
Well,
falls
if it's
under the
not-
definition of a larger category, then we don't need to list all the potential
How are you gonna
items.
make it conforming to some degree if they don't have that outline?
So why do we have, so for example, we have a section on frontage, right? This is above it, this is for when we're doing conforming stuff. Whenever any dwelling is established or expanded, or any non-residential use is established or expanded after the effective date, the lot must have no less than 200 feet of contiguous frontage along the street. Well, that's not true.
For a new lot.
No. To subdivide it was true, but now it's an approved lot. It's like a non-conforming lot is an approved lot.
Right, if you
So
don't,
for-
if you have an existing lot without meeting that requirement, then you fall into non-conforming lot.
And then, so right down this,
That's what this is.
so the
for.
next line says the 250-foot doesn't apply. Is that true? Because they're both lots. In 403, it says we need 250 foot of frontage to build a house. In 503, it says we do not. What's common between these two kinds of lots? They're both approved building lots. So wouldn't it make sense just to get rid of the 250 foot of frontage? Because it
No,
doesn't really matter.
no.
Why wouldn't you? If it's approved lot, it's an approved lot.
Because when someone's going through the subdivision process,
No, that's different. It says.
no, they have to comply with the zoning regulation.
Oh,
The
okay,
regulations state that it's too.
This isn't just for building, this is for zoning too. I mean,
Yeah. For subdivision, yes, the subdivision has to comply with that regulation, that's how they
I
create.
100% understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then if there's an existing lot that doesn't comply, then it falls under
That's
section
where
5,
we have to do that.
which is
Okay.
not for existing non-conforming, and they have to be existing.
So if we got rid of the frontage requirement, it wouldn't work in here.
Subdivision.
Right, there, yeah, then you
Okay, then we just
subdivide
have-
it to
then we have a
little
big-
tiny pieces, yeah.
Big mess, okay.
Right, because then there's no, you could be subdividing
Anything.
And the lots,
Whatever,
if you want.
okay, I understand.
there's no way to make it conforming unless you have the street footage, I would imagine.
Only if you tear down your neighbor's house and make that part of your yard.
Uh, 5.3A. Tear down the neighbors.
So
I think it's what everybody would like to do that, but we're not. We don't get into financial decisions here.
Um,
Okay, so the question is, do we summarize all of the individual reasons why why a lot is non-conforming into one definition, or do we list the individual items? That's really what it boils down to.
I think you list it to give some, if they're reading it, they can say, well, what can I do to make it so I can build there, and then gives you a couple other things you can look at.
there's nothing else that would cause a problem besides those three things, right?
The street, yeah.
Cause the only other thing that restricts where you build is the setbacks and where the well is and where the septic is.
Well, all we need to do is go back and look at the definition of a move the lot. Do it again. I think we definitely got into this last month.
Yeah, we did, but I don't remember everything.
What was the definition? The law is a plot or parcel of land other than submerged land that is separately described on a deed or map filed in Sterling Land Records and that is occupied or capable of being occupied by one principal building and the accessory buildings or uses customarily incidental to it, including such yards and street frontage as required by this ordinance. So that last sentence tells you that you don't need to list lot area, minimum buildable area,
I don't
road
agree.
frontage.
I'm kind of afraid of taking that out.
Let it keep it. Jim?
I mean, you can do either, I mean, you could leave the minimum buildable area in there as well if you so desire. The lot does not contain the required.
So it would read, these regulations shall not prevent the construction or expansion of a permitted structure or the establishment of a permitted use in the relevant zoning district or a non-conforming lot that does not contain the required minimum lot size, minimum buildable area, or minimum lot frontage on a street.
Well,
Well, I could just say lot frontage, yeah.
yeah, lot frontage, so don't go on the street, and if we put it back, that's fine, we're still working on this, and we can think about this, we're gonna be done for a month, right?
So we're saying we would get rid of on a street, get rid of those
Yeah,
three words.
so it would
Just list minimum lot frontage. But still list
minimum.
required minimum lot size. We could get rid of area, we don't need area.
Yeah,
So minimum lot size, comma, minimum buildable area, comma, or minimum lot frontage.
and I don't think there's anything else, is there anything else that makes a non-conforming lot not able to build on?
But then it says
That would
right
be
here.
a problem.
I mean, if you wanted to get specific, there's other.
Yeah,
You
there's
have
other
impervious
criteria.
coverage,
Yeah, exactly.
you have impervious coverage regulations,
Is would that cause that would cause a problem in the village district?
Cause if you're gonna list these three, then we need to list everything.
I think what's most important is the street frontage, because it says here, however, no building may be constructed without it. At the end of the building.
Yeah, but if we're gonna list like three items, like you said, somebody's reading this. And they say, oh, I've got those three, but then they don't have.
The frontage,
Like lot coverage. Yeah, impervious lot coverage, they're over on that. Well, it's not listed here, so then they're gonna compare that. So we have to list everything, or we have to just list, or not list anything, just have the one definition of, yeah, of lot, of just a lot of record, yeah.
So what would happen if somebody,
So we have to look it up and go back and list every item.
so right now, if I'm on a non-conforming lot and I try to get a zoning permit because I'm gonna have a garage. And that makes my non-impervious square footage too big. Does the zoning officer even look at that?
Should,
They should be.
How would they know what's impervious and what's not?
because you have to provide a drawing that shows that. As the applicant. Because you said it's you're using yourself as an example. So if you're the applicant, you need to provide a drawing that shows that you comply with all of the
Is it just looking
zoning
at this,
regulations.
I don't, what's our, with the 10% or something?
Resident, it depends, for,
Just say resident.
residential is 10%.
10%. So that would mean if you had a 100,000 square foot lot, you could only cover 10,000.
Building coverage is 10%. Impervious surface coverage is 20%.
So that would be a driveway.
That'd be
Like a
a
paved
driveway or patio,
Paved
or
driveway, any hard
if
surface.
you had a
concrete.
basketball court, I guess, or any other kind of
So you get
structure.
10,000 foot,
I didn't know that
10%
was
of building.
A limit to that, impervious. Should there be a limit to that?
Oh, yeah, typical, yeah,
Yeah.
standard. Every town has that. They don't want you paving your whole property.
It's your property.
It's for, it's
Yeah,
storm,
where does the water go?
The very drainage.
it's mainly a stormwater type of issue, and for drainage and.
Yeah. True. We got.
If everybody paves their entire lot, then the water has nowhere to go.
Right.
Yeah.
I know a lot of.
In fact, I think the new stormwater permit requires or suggests, I've seen, there's one in particular engineer who has demonstrated this in his development plans and his subdivision plans, that you have to show an equal amount of unimpervious coverage to your impervious coverage on the lot.
Oh, yeah, which is typically like if you're paving a large area, you have water infiltration units
Right, you
that
have
are
to show-
built underneath the paving. And the water goes into catch basins through piping and then into these infiltrators that puts the water back into the ground.
So it's as if the paving isn't there.
Right.
It's making up for that, yeah, exactly. That's big right now. That's everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
Every big commercial.
commercial
project has to
developments
deal
that
with
do
this,
that.
Yeah. We don't have, we're not strict in that department, because we don't have an issue with it.
in
So,
stormwater. A lot of the MS
I should say
four,
we don't have issues. We don't see large impervious surface
So
areas.
if somebody built a Costco warehouse here, we might see that problem.
you might, although usually if they were doing that, they would probably, a large project. You're talking such as Steve would require so much land that they're gonna probably have enough land to create their infiltration basins and things like that. It's when you start trying to cram things where they don't fit, that you have to put those underneath your parking lots and in more urbanized areas where they don't want you to be putting, adding water into the stormwater system.
You think that's why they got rid of the parking thing for the apartment buildings? You don't have to supply the parking because of maybe the water.
Well, I think mainly that was mostly because, towns were using that as a method of, reducing development sizes.
That sounded like a lobbyist movement to me.
Right.
That was a lobbyist trying to change regulations on the state level. That's what that looked like to me. I have no idea though.
But I think it was a combination of that,
Cause that saves, that change to the regulation saves developers billions, billions.
but some stormwater is becoming a much bigger with
Yeah, this.
MS4 form permitting is going to be coming out, I think in October, the new DEP permit. And disconnecting your impervious surfaces from especially impaired water, courses and things like that. DEP is always looking for, that type of a thing, and by, reducing the amount of parking and making sure that everyone is, dealing with their own stormwater on site
Yeah.
as much
I
as
know
possible.
a lot of towns are telling us, I can't go into these drains in there, that go to the streets anymore,
Right,
for the gutters. You can't drain the water.
they don't want you,
Oh, yeah.
right,
Right on top.
they want you to deal with it, they want
Yeah,
to see
they want
rain
you to do it
gardens,
on
they
your
wanna
site,
see,
yeah.
that type of thing.
They always say, you gotta go back in, There you go. It's your property now.
Okay, so getting back to 5.03, we're gonna list these three items and then we'll need to look up any other regulations. Or all the other regulations that are required to make it a conforming lot and then list these items here.
I thought this would go easier to eliminate stuff.
And what happens down by the industrial park where the village places, if somebody wants to add on there, is almost every time they need it.
No.
What do you call it,
Variance?
yeah,
No, not necessarily. That's what this is for. So there's two. We'll use the diagram again.
okay, but those ones are like super small.
Right, but it doesn't matter. So if they're,
They don't have wells, right, and they don't have septic systems.
yeah, but even if it's less than 2 acres and it's still a non-conforming lot, they're automatically a non-conforming lot. But if what they want to do is add on in the back
Yeah.
and they meet all other dimensional requirements,
Are they going to? So there will be 10 feet.
well, they still have to meet current regulations. So if they wanted to do an addition back here, even though they're on a non-conforming lot, they can still do this addition provided that it meets all other dimensional requirements. It's when they want to add into the front, then where they're already over that setback line, that's when they would be in variance territory. We would have to go to zoning board of appeals. for
Okay,
variance.
that's our drawing from last time.
Right,
So the new part on
but
the
if they want
side.
to do back here and not at all other dimensional requirements, they could do that.
You can't do this because this piece is not.
Yeah, this is
Increases the non-conformity.
correct, yes,
Okay.
this increases the numbers.
Okay.
So that would be zoning board of appeals addition, and this would be,
Or if you
Under
just
this
didn't have that
section.
little, if you just didn't have that little piece in the front, it would still be okay. Where the dotted line is.
right, yeah, you could build back to this line, as long as you met that front setback,
Okay,
and that would be in
Okay.
this category. In the non-conforming, actually, that would be in 5.02, non-conforming buildings and structures, this is already a building. If there's no building here at all, so let's say this is in the village district, it's an empty lot, which I don't know if there are any empty lots there. But let's just say there's an empty lot. They would fall under 5.03, non-conforming lot, so the lot doesn't conform, but they could still build as long as they stayed within all the other regulations.
all the building, all the setbacks and stuff.
And then if they can't do that, then they fall into.
So where they probably would have the biggest problem is the impervious, surfaces.
It's more than you think, you can build a lot more than you think you can,
Okay,
yeah.
So in town, if you don't have 2 acres, but you own the lot, what if you only owned it for like 5 years? You cannot build on it.
No, you can't, you're gonna fall under non-conforming lots.
Even though you didn't own it before the.
It doesn't matter, it's a lot of record, it's when the lot is.
The lot is
when the lot-
Not
It's not necessarily when you own it.
I see.
Yeah, it's when the lot was created.
So it's like when it's subdivided, like this lot here, when this, if this gets all approved and everything, then the date of that lot is when it was approved.
I see.
So if it's something you had for
That
5
was
years,
confusing.
it might have been subdivided 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, or 20 years ago.
I see.
Because the real, from 5.03, the real gist of it is the last two sentences.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what I said.
The rest of it is just telling you that it's a non-conforming,
It's
Lot.
explaining what it is and not.
Right.
conforming. But if you don't have the.
and it's
street-
just saying that if you don't have the street frontage
you can-
or an easement, you can't expand or construct on a non-conforming lot.
Right, the part that we've been discussing is just the definition. The actual meat and potatoes of this is, like Jim just said, the last two
Oh, that's
sentences.
it.
And that's just to allow, it allows someone who has a lot of record the opportunity to be able to construct.
So we already
On a
know it's
lot.
a non-conforming, so they would need frontage and they can build on it. So that's basically what you need to put there.
It's just that they don't want you to be able to, you need to be able to have, for fire and safety purposes, the town needs to be able to have access to that building for safety reasons. So if you don't have reasonable,
Frontage.
or can't create reasonable access. And I think that's the purpose for that bottom two sentences. If you don't have frontage on,
So that's really. the
or
only
a permanent right of way, that someone can't say, hey, you're no longer going up this road to get to your house.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the first strikeout in red, that goes away, and it starts with, these regulations shall not prevent, blah, blah, blah. We'll start there. We'll take out the word area after lot size, so it'll just be lot area, comma, minimum buildable area, or minimum lot frontage. And then we'll have to add
Maybe some other.
the other line item requirements of a buildable lot. Because like we determined, if we're gonna list one, we need to list all of them. Or if we're gonna list two or more, we need to list all of them. So it sounds like that's what we're gonna do. Is that what we wanna do?
I think so.
Makes sense.
Okay. That makes sense to you?
We don't have a definition.
It will be adding more
It's, I
words, but
adding a lot, but,
I think
we can do it and see how it,
yeah, let's do it.
Or maybe just give the definition of a non-conforming lot and then that last two sentences.
Well, that's, yeah, this is essentially what it's starting.
Well, that would be helpful in the future too, if we ever had another time where we had to do something with a non-conforming lot, or you have to list everything that constitutes a non-conforming lot again.
No, the applicant's already gonna know that it's non-conforming.
They can still be able to see it.
Yeah, or if they don't, they're gonna come in with a plan and immediately gonna fall under non-conforming law status. And then we have to look at it and accordingly.
Maybe I'm missing what you're saying, that if there's another regulation down the road that we have to,
Oh, yes, we would have to update this section.
you have
Yes,
to update this section, but you'd also have to relist all those conditions
Right.
again.
right,
Or if you just had a definition, you could, in the future, you could just say non-conforming lot,
right,
we can go back to the definition.
correct.
Just-
And
Throwing it out.
not with all of that.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's what I was thinking too, man.
So a what makes a structure non-conforming? Or
That it has a-
other
it
things
has
other
a-
than- that's the only thing?
It has a dimensional issue that doesn't meet current regulation.
With what? Just setback?
Setbacks, yeah.
What about the well? So what?
I don't think it would be a building lot before the well would be put in, I don't think the location matters.
The well is.
No, we're talking about a non-conforming structure, so the
Yeah.
structure would be anything that is built above grade. What's the definition of structure?
We do have a definition of that. So it's it's a.
Structure, anything constructed or erected that either requires a building permit or has an impervious surface. Every building is also a structure, but not every structure is a building.
So for example, you don't need a building permit for a 20x10 shed,
Correct,
but you do need a zoning permit.
correct.
So that would have an impervious surface,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't be a,
Permit.
what can we call it?
Existing non-conforming?
Yeah, because it would be, something, right, it would,
Oh.
Because we
It
don't
would
need
be
because of its size.
a structure, but not a,
Building.
every building is also a structure, but not every structure is also a building.
So a shed like that would be a structure, I guess, not a building. Is that right?
A shed would be,
It's small,
a shed would be a structure, yeah. Yes, a shed is a structure.
but if you made it bigger and you need a permit, it would become a building.
No, it would still be a structure.
It would be a building also. Cause you need a permit.
Above a certain size, yes, then it would need a permit.
Okay.
It's a little bit.
Just put wheels on it.
Then it becomes a trailer.
Oh, yeah, no trailers, no trailers.
Kids.
I don't think we have a definition of what a non.
So typically you don't add on to your well, so I think that would take that out of the
What
equation.
if you got too close to it? Is it what, is it 75 foot? The circle, is that,
Health department,
That's a health department,
that's from the septic system.
that's a health
But it's
department.
not from the,
75 from a structure, I believe it's 25 feet. I thought,
Yeah,
so,
but those are health department rules, not
right,
zoning.
that's not our
oh,
rule.
so that's no different than building a structure. If you get too close to the septic system, you can't do it either.
Right.
Yeah,
Which has nothing to-
25 feet to the structure for a well, but that's a health department
But
regulation.
those are all health department.
Okay,
We
The
don't have to
only
get-
zoning thing with wells is that the well has to be on your lot and the circumference, the 75-foot circumference has to fit on your lot.
so what if it was before that came into effect in somebody's well is some other place? That's not a problem at all then, is it? It's just where new wells go.
If you're putting an addition on your house,
Yeah.
that will go before the health department, and if your addition is too close to the neighboring well, they will not approve it.
But they have a 25 foot thing, they don't have a 75 foot thing.
25
Or
feet to the structure, yeah. So you're gonna hit your setback line before you,
Right, so
Before
you're
you-
saying if your well, if you have a half an acre or a quarter acre lot and your well's
Already
radius
there.
goes beyond your lot size, does that make anything about your lot or structure
Well, it would make,
non-conforming?
it wouldn't make the structure, the well would not considered to be part of the structure, correct? So it had nothing to do.
no, I don't think so,
No.
no. I think we're strictly dealing with this scenario, where we have a structure, building, shed, house, whatever, garage, detached garage, that is not complying with some regulation.
Okay.
And the idea is that it's not that you can't do anything because of that,
Would the surface area make?
You
it
can
count?
do something, you just have to do it within the regulations, even though you're not meeting these are the existing regulations for the entire structure, but whatever you're trying to do must just comply.
Okay,
Then you don't have to go to zoning board of appeals. That's the idea, is to keep people out of the zoning board of appeals for somebody who has simply a small lot.
and they wanna improve their house.
With a structure that doesn't meet current regulations, but met the regulations when it was built. Doesn't prevent them from having to go through an expensive, long-winded process. To do something that would otherwise comply, so that's the idea.
Okay.
That's like the basis of this whole thing. And we already have it, it's just not worded clearly.
Trying to
that
make it
indicates
a
that,
little
so-
easier to understand.
Right. Right, this is not, a text amendment that is changing policy, this is a text amendment to just make it read more clearly and make sure that people understand that you can do something with your property because it's, even though it's not conforming, you can still do something.
Don't do stuff. Okay.
So people don't read this and get scared and say, oh, geez, I can't do what I wanna do. Well, you probably can. Maybe it wasn't that easy to understand.
Understand.
So that being said, are we changing anything to section 5.02? We didn't need any changes there, Jim? You were happy with that?
Did we talk about it at all? I don't remember. Yeah, other than the drawing.
Actually, it's not bad as it's read right now. Any non-conforming structure may be continued as a non-conforming structure. However, the structure may not be expanded or enlarged in such a way so as to increase the area, extent, or amount of the non-conformance. And the structure may not be expanded or extended vertically or horizontally within a required setback area.
So,
I'm in this industry, so this makes perfect sense to me, but
yeah.
not everybody else is, so
Here's-
other people's input is probably better than mine. is.
Here's what made this text make sense to me is the drawing. We don't have a drawing.
Yeah.
So, once you understand the drawing, you understand the text.
The only one I have a question on is number 4.
Yeah,
Why does that matter?
Because state statute has come out and essentially said that I don't know if you can set time limits on, non-conformities.
right.
If I have a non-conforming use, let's say, if I have a gas station, or my lot was used for a gas station. In order to prove that I've abandoned the use of that gas station and I now can no longer use it for a gas station, you essentially have to prove abandonment that I've, and it's not a
So the
time
town
thing
will
anymore.
have to prove that it was abandoned? And is no longer an acceptable use?
But didn't that happen in this town? Didn't the guy wanna open up the gas station again that he had on his property?
Well, see, that might be an easy one, because it was torn down completely 100% demolished,
That was
so.
down on
I
four,
think you
right?
can claim that's abandoned, that
Yeah.
use. But if there was still a structure there,
There's gas pumps.
Yeah. it's got-
Not the one at the
they still are
Omegle.
there, well, then maybe you could make a
There's
case.
still a sign there that says
No, I'm-
$1.53 or something.
I'm not talking about Omegle Market,
No, yeah, the lot across.
the one down the road by the big garden down by, after or before Gibson Hill. It's a little further down. On the left, it used to be gas station.
Gibson Hill.
Was it? I'm talking about, it's the big glass window was a flower shop though, most time too, I think. They come.
I don't know, we're getting off track.
I know.
Examples, Jim, can you finish that thought?
Because I think there was basically there was some court cases and new legislation that basically said that, in order to, you couldn't say that if you didn't, abandonment was non-use of the lot for whatever it is, 5 years for that use or 60 years, something like that, without, using it for that purpose or something like that. There was no, I don't think you can put a time limit necessarily
Because
on
it's
it.
hard to establish and determine what was the end date of that use. So that you can determine the 5-year.
You almost have to have the owner of the property give you a letter, something in writing saying, I am no longer using the property for this, and this.
That would give you a definitive date.
Right, and putting that into the land records in order to establish that that use is no longer, runs with that property.
Right.
So I just don't know if you can have that 5, I mean, you could leave it there and if it ever comes up,
Does that relate to
someone
that,
can
or
argue it.
does that relate to like damage from a fire?
Well, either way, I mean, if somebody, let's say somebody's place gets damaged by a fire,
Los Angeles,
um,
clock is ticking, they don't get a permit within 5 years, then what?
You abandon it, is that what that
You
means?
could say, well, this is, you can't read.
what they're trying to say, I think, in the regulation is that, you lose your non-conforming
Status,
status, so it's not protected under the non-conforming.
right, so then you have to
So
meet all current regulations, which
You have to
means
go
on a
get a
small lot, you might not be
permit
able, you
now.
can't build anything. Yeah.
Or you might not be able to, I mean, it's not as big a deal here because everything's allowed. But if it was in other communities where maybe that particular use wouldn't normally be allowed in that particular zone, it becomes a bigger issue. Because maybe it's a residential zone and it's a commercial use.
The size of the structure could be an issue too.
Right, or the size of the structure or something
Your
along those
setbacks might
lines.
be such that it only allows you for a 10-foot wide structure, which is not a feasible structure to build.
Which could be, like, that could be a
You need that
situation here.
non-conforming status. So so it sounds like, putting a time limit on it might not.
I mean, it could be a question when we get to the point. I mean, you could leave it, and if it ever comes up, I mean, it's a town attorney question probably, but if someone ever argued it, but I mean,
I would be inclined to keep it and just have somebody argue it, because I think what's realistically going to happen in this town is it's gonna be an abandoned lot for 30+ years. And then someone drags it back up and says, I wanna do this on
Hey.
it.
I wanna do,
And it's like, well, there used to be a building there, and there's like,
Can you put in there
there's
unless
two
it's
pieces
sold?
of stone that represent an old
Goes
foundation.
away,
it,
no?
interestingly enough, in Ashford, there was a lot that, and it was a housing lot. And this person was trying to get an address for the lot. The lot didn't have an address, but it had a foundation. So it had a telephone pole and it had wiring and stuff like that. But didn't have an address, but it was obviously at some point in time used as a residence.
Yeah.
But where the foundation was, doesn't conform to where zoning would allow you to actually put a structure. They didn't want to build a structure there, they were just looking for an address at the time, because they wanted to do some other stuff. But I suppose if you played it out, that would be kind of a scenario where, hey, if they wanted to, I don't know if they could argue that it's a residential use.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get into that type of semantic, or we're gonna get into whether it's been 4 years or 6 years since a structure or something was there. I think this is gonna be like, we haven't seen anything there in 30 years, so yes, it's beyond the 5-year permit, and that's, how do you, you're not gonna be able to argue that.
There,
gonna be the obvious. I don't think we're gonna have these like really detailed, very close calls.
No,
The first line does say any non-conforming structure is damaged by neglect. You can't really nail that.
Well, that's a tough one too, right? That's a tough one too, exactly. Same idea, same discussion. It's like anything, what descriptions are going to be problematic and which ones are not? Some are easy, fire damage, okay? You know when something burned down.
I like the 5-year thing, because that gives you, I mean, if you're not gonna build in 5 years, you're obviously not gonna rebuild them.
Yeah, and it's probably not 5 years in our
Yeah.
case, what we're gonna see here, it's probably something way beyond that,
10
which
years, yeah.
definitely falls within the 5 years, it's gonna be.
Property was given to me from my family.
Or it also inspire people to do something, like house burns down, just let it sit there, that burns down,
Yeah, you got the insurance money.
Right, I mean, obviously, the fire marshal, the building official have their own rules that if the building structure is unsafe, they can force the thing to be torn down
Right.
and demolished and made safe. And if for some reason the town has to actually do it and put a lien on the property, they can do that.
If somebody argued to me that an existing foundation that they wanted to rebuild on or reuse that footprint, to me, that would be a good argument. But, because something exists from the previous use. So you could establish if something was there, but you know, if it's like, well, there's a corner marker of an old stone foundation, it's like, well, yeah, but what was the rest of it? And you do an archaeological dig to figure out
Yeah.
where this was. I mean, we're not gonna see anything like that. It's just not something, either you've never seen anything like that and probably never will. And I don't plan on being on the sport for the rest of my life, so probably won't. I'll do like Ross, I'll serve 20 years or something and then maybe it's okay. So, for all that,
I like the way.
it doesn't sound like we've made any changes to 5.02.
Not yet,
No.
what that is.
Okay,
5.2.
so just 5.03.
But I think the only thing we need for 5.2, which does go here, would be a definition of what a non-conforming building is. Or a structure.
I mean, depending on how specific you want to be, you can go back to the applicability section at the top for where it states,
An article 9.
yeah. I think the first paragraph,
Term non-conforming structure, includes a building structure not pre-existing lawfully prior to.
I mean, it's somewhat simplistic, but
I mean, I like it.
That's good too, but it doesn't.
if you're gonna try to get into naming every regulation that it's gonna
Yeah,
make it,
that's
could make it non-conforming, especially when you get into uses.
We don't have anything like this. Like, so a definition of what a non-conforming building is would be very helpful.
I had seen
Did we talk about one?
oral diagrams in,
I don't know,
regulations
I think we
before, but
should
it's
try to
great.
do it with words. I guess we could put it.
it's a tough one, because like Jim said, how are you going to list all the possibilities?
You
You would
can't,
never list them all.
but you had some words like, it fails to meet a dimensional requirement, or maybe something based upon those words. Did they have definition for that in the old?
There's a definition right here of non-conforming use, but there isn't a definition for a non-conforming
Building?
I think the only way to.
building. I'm sure I could find one, but it's gonna basically tell you that it's a building that doesn't meet the requirements of
See, what I don't understand until I saw
the
that
zoning
diagram,
regulations.
what things make building non-conforming?
I guess you gotta
Does that
show
make
what a
sense?
conforming lot is and then. This is non-conforming, if it doesn't suit this one.
So here's another option that people have is if people are reading this and they don't understand, the first option would be to say, well, I think I fall in this category, but I'm not sure, I don't know what I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't think it's close enough to get him to that point.
They're a free resource is to talk to the zoning enforcement officer, and they will be happy to explain, you know, this by diagram or whatever.
Yeah,
else
that, obviously
to their individual case and explain exactly this, and, you know, that's, you know, free of charge, that wouldn't cost them anything. A design professional would be the other option, you know, like we had Mr. Archer here for this application. He would explain this to them, exactly, here's what you can do, here's what you
Put in
can.
there for clarification on this, you'll call the zoning board, or so, not the zoning officer. You wouldn't need to do that.
We wouldn't put that in the regulation. That's a-
few of them anyway.
Exactly, the first thing you do is come in and talk to the zoning enforcement officer, and they will advise you on what you can and can't do and what the process is to move forward.
I can come up with a few and send them to you.
Okay.
You can just see if any of them, but I think they're gonna be pretty,
They're just gonna say they're not.
pretty close to what that,
Because they're
those
not-
two lines say in that. From a legal standpoint, it's gonna be something that says,
Yeah, I'm not sure how else you can word that,
I,
where it would be
I'd like to-
clearer. I know it might not sound clear to somebody who's first reading, but now,
yeah,
now that I'm reading it,
we understand
it
it.
is perfectly clear.
Because you know what the
I know.
definition is.
Yeah,
I get
we
that.
know, yeah.
So if we had text that had what the definition was, then when somebody reads it, they're gonna understand.
I'm not sure if you can.
And last time,
Maybe.
so before the last meeting, I didn't know what the definition of this was.
I didn't know.
And worse than that, I would have confused non-conforming building and structures with non-conforming lots. So much so I would think a building on a non-conforming lot is a non-conforming building, which it absolutely is not.
What if you have a lot of non-conforming buildings? Like you have 5 of them,
You read them all out?
is it a non-conforming lot or is it a non-conforming building? Well, it's a lot of buildings.
But I had no idea what this was, until you did the drawing last time. So now, I understand. But we don't have a definition.
I mean, I could go door to door,
Just tell everybody?
yeah, well, you guys know.
We could just take all of it, just put the picture on every one.
Actually, I wouldn't have to go to everyone, I would just go to those properties.
Two-thirds of the town.
It's less.
You could tell it too. Which is.
okay,
Yeah, I honestly don't know how else you can rewrite. I mean, maybe Jim could work.
Well,
on
no,
that.
I don't think it should be rewritten at all. I think we need a definition, so when somebody knows what a non-conforming building is
Right.
before they read it.
Well, this is the definition of non-conforming buildings, 5.01 applicability, that is the definition.
I mean, we could just pull, for all intents and purposes, we could just pull it out. And add it to the definition
I think we
section.
might have talked
And
about that once
maybe-
already.
It's just saying it doesn't tell you what makes it non-conforming though. So with the lot, it's easy, you know, you have like a.
It's gonna be different for every single lot.
Yeah, it's different for everyone, yeah.
What makes it the lot, that makes the structure non-conforming is gonna be different for each structure.
If you look at 701, that gives you another definition of it, which is.
I don't think you want to list all those conditions every time they.
No,
No, you
that's
don't
what
wanna
you
do
do.
that, you just want a definition that doesn't say the definition has the word you're defining in it, that's kind of what we're doing. So it doesn't really tell you anything.
Yeah, I like,
The reason it's not in there is because it's hard to figure out what the definition is.
well, it can't be, right, it's different for every case, it's not a,
But then how come it's not under, it's perfectly clear what a non-conforming lot is,
Well, it is,
because we talk about frontage, and we talk about setbacks, we talk about buildable triangle, rectangles, and there's a whole section of.
well, for a non-conforming structure, it's just that it doesn't meet
What?
it doesn't meet zoning regulations or any regulation of dimensional requirement. It does, it's any one thing that it
There's
does.
our definition, we just have to clean that up a little bit.
That fails to conform to one or more of the current requirements of these regulations.
And what are those requirements? That you're defining, you're trying to define it without ever doing so.
Well, that's, I guess it'd have to meet the. You know, like, the requirements. For their lot.
I mean, I see your point.
Yeah, so that fixes it. There's a definition.
Well, for one example, I mean, it could be,
What else could, it should be like something like that. I guess if you had like the surface coverage of the lot would probably be something. But we have to think about that.
well, that would be in the.
Well, it would basically it's gonna be either 4.04 or 4.05. It's gonna be impervious surface, or it's gonna be setback, right?
So we could put those in, it's not a paragraph.
Because you don't have a height requirement, right?
No, we do have a height requirement though.
I don't believe you do.
I think last time we were here, we said there was one.
I thought I heard it was gonna be.
No, I thought it was too, and then I
If
looked it
you
up.
had height, it would be in this sections. Right? I think.
We have,
Or is it 30? Maybe I don't
we have
that.
4.01 minimum lot area, we have 4.02 minimum buildable area. We have 4.03 frontage, 4.04 setbacks, which are front, side, and rear. We have 4.05 building and impervious surface coverage, that's it, we don't have height.
So if we were trying to make this into text, then a non-conforming building or structure is a structure that does not comply with setback.
Well, you can say dimensional requirements.
Well, I would put in parentheses setbacks, because nobody's gonna know what dimension. And pervious surface coverage.
Jim, what would that do to us? Would that get us?
It doesn't go here, it just goes in the definition.
It would be, let's see, let me
Oh, yeah,
look.
I agree, it should just go in the definitions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, 5.01 applicability, so it would say that
I
fails,
could leave all those words the way they are.
before the fix the,
That makes sense.
and that fails to conform with one or more of the current requirements of these regulations, that would change to something like,
No, just
they
leave
would
it the way
fail
it
to
is.
conform with
Just leave it the way it is.
the requirements of these regulations in parentheses setback, dimensional setbacks and impervious surface coverage.
But in the front of that's true, you can do it that way, but you can also just put it. We have all these definitions in the front, we could just put one there for.
We talked about that last month and it was,
Why didn't we wanna do that?
well, we said, oh, let's have Jim write up a definition to put in here, and then we realized, well, 5.01 is actually the definition.
But it's not,
So if we,
it just says regulations, well, that's like saying it doesn't
If
follow
you're-
the
well,
Constitution.
technically it's true, technically it's true, but,
If you're looking,
uh,
to provide clarity, but not to corner yourself in such a way,
yeah.
you can say, you can always use the verbiage that, that essentially it's non-conformity. Let me think of how I would word it. kind of like, that does not, comply with regulations such as, but not,
But not limited to.
but not limited to.
Yes, you could do that.
And list those two, because we know those are gonna be the two big ones.
Right.
That way, if for some
Add
reason,
something,
something else kind of pops up that, hey, this is something else that also would
Yes.
apply, but didn't get thought of at the time. But at least those are the two that you know. Setbacks is the biggest one, obviously, that when you're talking structures. And then impervious, to me, would be the only other one that I could think of right now. But if for some reason you're worried that there might be something else somewhere in the regulations that could also be interpreted as making a structure non-conforming, you could word it in that way that it would, and within the definition, that way it covers you. And not, so someone couldn't come in and say, well, your definition says, this, so that means everything else doesn't apply.
Yeah, loopholes, yeah.
Right,
Well, this gives you a conforming, what it is, conforming, so non-conforming is something that doesn't fit into those categories out of that.
So it would say something like, and that fails to conform to one or more of the current requirements of these regulations, including but not limited to dimensional setbacks and impervious surfaces. Yeah. Such non-conforming building structure law may be continued according to the requirements of these regulations. So
that
we need that.
gives you examples, but it's like weasel word, but that's okay for now.
It's better.
It's better, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, because like Jim said, it gives you the two big ones, and then if there's any minuscule loophole type issue that's on a specific property, would be covered by the included but not limited to. But for 99% of applications, that would be the applicable non-conforming issue. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
You want me to state that again, Jim?
no, I got it.
Got it?
Setbacks but not limited to setbacks.
And we'll do that right in 5.01 applicability, rather than have a separate definition. You okay with that?
For now,
Because that would be the definition. I mean, we'll review it next month.
yeah, we'll look at it, well, we got other stuff to change too, so I'm sure we'll do.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's all track change, so we can see what we did and what we changed.
Mhm. Okay. What else? Was that it for that section? So that was actually two separate items on the agenda. We combined them all, one massive one. So that's a discussion of section 4.03 and non-conforming lots. So we have anything else we wanna add while we're still on this department? Jim, you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, solar regulations. We're not doing anything with that, right? There's not. It's not.
We're deciding that, though.
Yeah, there's not really anything we can
Yeah.
do. We could probably take it off the agenda.
Yeah.
Would you like to say something? I think you're right.
Doesn't it come to the planning and zoning, to have regulations in place so that when they put it in, they have to follow certain things about the logging, the maintenance, the, fires, anything to do with vandalism or, taking down, the farm after 20 years? Isn't that a planning and zoning thing?
Jim, do you want to respond to your own?
Well, I believe for this, are you talking about the current one that's proposed?
Right, so it's.
The current one that's
let's start
proposed
there.
is all gonna fall under, because it's
Last year's.
gonna be under siting council rule.
Right.
siting council is, I believe, has jurisdiction over it, and I believe all the things in regards to discontinuance of it and, how it would be dismantled and everything else is under their jurisdiction. So all of that documentation, and requirements would be under contracts with and documentation with them. It's not, wouldn't fall under planning and zoning.
It's our land and they're gonna be logging, they're gonna be going up and down.
So
There's
It's
all kinds
not
of
the
regulations.
town of Sterling's land.
before,
Yes.
well, let's just start right at the beginning. So there's a current project that's, I don't know what status the
August
current.
19th, they'll be making a decision.
So they're falling under our current,
By the law.
they're falling under our current zoning regulations, which has nothing about solar at all. It's only a site plan review.
So can't we,
We cannot add or change anything that would affect that project.
so they're gonna have free reign of
No.
that.
Well, they have to comply with the siting council regulation, which is state regulations.
Even
And
if
they'll have
you
to
change
come,
anything, they
and-
wouldn't,
Even if we had something
They wouldn't have to,
previous,
they wouldn't have to follow our regulations.
under the
even
zoning.
if we already had regulations, it wouldn't have to apply.
correct, we could have very specific requirements for all of these items in our regulations, and it would be overruled by the siting council, so we would have zero
That
jurisdiction.
they can just come in and be,
Yeah, I don't know how they did that.
yeah, it's,
Now, if it's a smaller project that doesn't fall under the siting council regulations, not this project, but the next project that comes down our way. If it's a smaller project, and I think that project is just over the threshold to get them under the siting council regulations, so if it was anything less than that, as another project, say a year or 2 years from now, then potentially it would fall under the zoning regulations, so we could draft something and include it for solar, but it would be limited to,
Small project.
well, it still could be a big project, just smaller than this current one. What is it, 5 mega, I don't know, I mean, it's
I don't
some
remember
number of
exactly what it
megawatts.
How can they combine the two towns? Like, it would be a small project on our side and a small project on their side, but together it's a big project.
We would only have jurisdiction over what's in our town.
So that would make it a smaller project that we can still get.
No, because it falls under the siting council. As soon as it falls under them as one project, then
I see.
and they,
Right,
Right.
they
it's not
ask
being
for our
split up.
input and everything, but it doesn't really make a difference.
well, that's where we could have regulations drafted and say, well, we have regulations that really want us, we wanna see, items A, B, and C happen with this project, please do something about it.
Mhm.
And they could take that under advisement, but that's it. So how many hours do we wanna spend drafting regulations? And like for this project, we can't do anything anyway, it's already passed us
It's true.
Yeah, those would have been in place before they started,
before they even sent us a
before
letter.
they applied.
Well, before they applied. yeah,
That's
but-
why they come to the quiet corner.
I doubt that anybody has regulations in their
They do
zoning.
across the state. They do, but there's 93 solar farms now in the state of Connecticut. And we get no reduction whatsoever in our electric bills.
I'm not sure why we call them farms. They're not farms.
No, they're
They're-
industrial
They're
complexes.
solar fields. Yeah,
It's not a farm, but that's what they call them.
yeah.
Sounds better.
Yeah, it's the nice word. Yeah.
While we're talking.
If it was called an industrial solar complex, it wouldn't sound right. Yeah.
While we're on that subject, do we wanna talk about, I'm not saying we should now. The hot button issues in the general area is distribution centers and government data centers.
The same kind of thing.
Do we wanna possibly, talk about those types of things as well, while, if we're gonna talk about solar.
Is it worth writing regulations on any of that stuff?
I would say let's put that on the agenda for next month and then we'll have it as a discussion point. I don't wanna start a new discussion without having it on the agenda. I think that could get us into,
I agree. I just thought I'd bring it up to put up on your ears.
yeah, so let's put that on the agenda for next month. I'm not even sure how to label that or title it, but we'll figure it out.
Data centers?
It would be uses, discussion of different of warehouse uses essentially, or large, you could just say large scale
That would be a good reason to have zoning districts.
uses.
It would, but I don't see that as an achievable goal.
But you
see
don't,
it as an-
right,
I think
it's not something that you don't have to attack it as in, it's also something you don't have to attack by, there are some towns that don't, that have, building restrictions. You don't have to,
What do you mean by building restriction?
we don't allow any building greater than
100,000
not,
square feet.
period.
Or smaller than 2,500 feet, yeah, so down.
Minimum, it's hard to
Yeah,
do minimum,
it wouldn't be minimum.
but maximums, they just don't allow a structure larger than,
How common is that?
it's pretty common.
Yeah,
Any of the towns in our county,
Yeah,
stuff like that?
so there's a number of ways to do it. I don't wanna get into too much of it, like I'd rather have it as an agenda item and then discuss it under that agenda item. But we can certainly talk about solar.
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, would it be beneficial to have something in our regulations for future projects? Probably wouldn't hurt, we could get something going with that.
This could be the
That's
first
what we
of
want to
many.
do.
Well, you know.
I mean,
Well, 20 years
regionally,
ago, we
there's,
signed one and now you see them all over, so.
I think Pomfret has one. They have an informational meeting on the 25th. But it's one that Pomfret is, well, I don't know if Pomfret is supporting, but Pomfret is initiating. I don't remember how large it is, not nowhere near as large as this is, but, on property that they own. That used to be their, transfer station. But there is some pushback from, some residents on that one.
All right, I mean, yeah, if the members choose, we can look into starting a discussion on writing a section for that.
Good.
It's up to all of you.
Sure.
Okay, well, we'll keep it on the agenda and we'll. get something going. Okay. All right, good, moving on. Next item, Public Act, 25-1, 8,002.
The only thing,
Nothing more than just an update, I guess.
well, the only thing on that one that I wanted to, talk a little bit about was, I know some of you had attended, there were some regulations that towns are supposed to have in place that we've talked a little bit about by July, and I know the COG has receiving some, text amendments from some towns. And one of those is that, and we talked a little bit about it, that towns are supposed to allow either transit-oriented developments or mixed-use development. And, as of, by, what they're calling summary review, and one of my questions is, in looking at how your regs are actually written, you may want to do something in regards to the mixed-use development aspect, only because I know that your regs do allow, you allow anything,
Including mixed use.
including mixed use, but it doesn't, mixed use includes, you don't allow multifamily or residential units more than a certain amount of, more than like 2.
Right.
So,
We allow 2 family, not multi. 3 or more is multifamily, which.
Well, mixed use is the combination of commercial and
Oh, I see.
residential
Yeah, yeah.
units in the same structure.
Yeah. You could have storefront, retail storefront on the first floor.
On the first floor with apartments on the second floor. And the way the act reads, it doesn't say how many. So it could be more than, I guess, in theory, more than two.
So we would need to add something to comply with that?
So that's what I'm thinking, is you may need to add some language in there to comply in some way with how that act is interpreted or written. My issue is the way I'm reading some of our town's text amendments coming through. I think there's still a lot of confusion as to how to comply. And I think there's still confusion even amongst the attorneys. But I think it's worth, and I don't think you'd have to do a lot to comply. But I think you want to make sure you probably put something in there, even if it's just adding the definition, because there's a state statute. The statute includes a definition of what mixed use development is, and includes a definition of what approving something through that review process is, even though it's just basically site plan review, and maybe some small section of how that process may work, I guess, in your particular case, so that you have some control and understanding in case someone does come forward with something that they want to do.
Okay.
So that you don't end up, I guess, surprised at some point by something that just pops in. Not that it would be a special permit, because you don't have, one, you can't do it by special permit, but at least you have site plan, regulations, but,
Does a town as small as ours have to comply with something like this?
all towns
Oh,
that
yeah,
have
right.
zoning, the way that the definition is, any town that has zoning and has a zoning district that allows for commercial use,
Which is everybody.
commercial or mixed use districts. So if anybody, well, except for Eastford, because they don't have zoning.
Okay, so we need to figure out where and how we would add something.
So to me, it would probably be like in section, because when I was looking at it, I was imagining that it would just be something.
Section 4.01, well, that's minimum lot size for.
Where you talk about
residential,
your,
single family, and then two family, and then non-residential. That's regarding lot size though.
where you talk about zoning districts, and you talk about prohibited uses,
Yeah, 3.02.
special permit uses. So somewhere in that section, or somewhere within that section,
Good night.
Good night.
Maybe
you would probably add, something in regard to mixed use developments.
Okay,
Define what mixed use development is.
okay,
That type of a thing. And we could spell it out, and then also define what summary review is. And then, what some towns are doing are adding sections that, although I don't know if you have the appetite to the degree that some of the towns do, who are very worried about the appearance and the architecture and everything else of these types of developments, where they're getting into the form and structures of the commercial
doesn't the
building.
state overrule that stuff anyway and say that you can't legally bind somebody to match existing character of a neighborhood? Like, I thought you weren't.
As long as you don't use the term character, there are some things that that some attorneys are recommending in regards to form. So if you have a structure, you have to have, for example, if you prefer gable roofs over flat roofs, stuff like that, the roof types have to be gables, gambrel, roof structures that are more inclined to be residential style roofs as opposed to a flat roof or something like that, and that you have to have breaks in walls. You can't have a wall that's just 500 feet long without a break in that type of form.
Can you put a height requirement in this one?
What's that?
Can you put a height requirement on that one?
You could. You can put a height requirement of, nothing over so many feet high or whatever, you know,
Okay,
stuff like that, at least kind of,
did we set some parameters in like next month's meeting, or do you wanna draft something? How do you wanna do this?
I can draft something that gives you some examples and stuff of what, or, because I think Haller and Sage, who is your firm, Mark Grant has kind of put together at least a draft for people to kind of start with.
Okay, so you don't have to write something from scratch.
Right.
Somebody else has something to start with at least.
Right, and I think because of the way that your regulations are somewhat structured, you already don't get too deep into those types of things. So, I think, it could be done fairly simply.
Could we still have the land requirements for those? Or is the state saying you can't have land requirements?
I think the way that it has to be reviewed is as long as whatever you're using, it can't be, arbitrary. So for example, you could have landscape requirements in them. But it specifically has to say something to the line of, if it requires, like a buffer, a vegetated buffer. What is the spacing of that vegetated buffer? It can't be arbitrary, it's gotta be, you have to have, what type of a tree? Is it deciduous? Is it an evergreen? I mean, they're getting specific, 30 feet apart? What's the diameter of that evergreen? What is the height of it when it's planted? It can't be, the regulation can't be like, something that is like up to the commission, like if the commission thinks it's okay,
Yeah,
right, all right, can't be arbitrary.
Can't be
So it has to be very specific, so that when they come in, if they meet that,
damn.
they're good to go. So as long as they meet whatever requirement you make, they're good.
I mean, we don't have any regulations that are that specific anywhere, so we're not going to do that with this. It would be more of a broad scope. So that we meet we meet the HB 8002 requirement, don't contradict that. And then if we get into discussion of large scale distribution warehousing, whatever, we can have that same. We can have that same discussion of what do we want this?
Right, I think Capital Region Council of Governments actually just did a study for their region on large warehouses and
Yeah, this,
appropriate locations for them or something along those lines or something like that. I don't know who paid for the study or whatever, but they had somebody go out and do one. Because I know it's a hot topic now.
yeah, it really is. And when you start seeing signs up on this, in front of people's houses saying no more, then you know it's something it's something new. It's something new and invasive.
It all seems to be right next to highways though.
Well, I mean, that's,
So, you
They need to have the access.
Right.
We're not really subject to that. We
know,
never have
we're
been.
kind of powerful, yeah.
But that doesn't mean that crazy things don't
Right.
happen, so.
well,
Probably better
it's
just.
the northeast corner. They've discovered large parcels of land that are fairly inexpensive. And are adjacent to 395 or close to 395 or, Route 6.
Yeah, I mean. That lot on 14A in Plainfield, I mean, that was a terrible lot. That was ledge and hills. And I guess if you're just willing to throw massive amounts of money at leveling a mountain, then hey, anything's possible, right?
A lot of people like Colonial Woods, their houses, a lot of their houses are damaged from the lot of rock breaking and shit.
Yeah, those complaints always come out. Never know if it's true or not. Okay, all right, so we've got some direction there. Anything else?
No, and I think for Page, we're not even, as far as the other work for the housing stuff, and OPM and the buildable land, stuff.
Inventory, yeah.
Inventory, that's all still kind of moving forward. I think July 1st, GIS OPM is supposed to have some guidance for the COGS in regards to helping with the inventory. I can tell you that, Ty and Bond, who is the town's GIS, has finished doing some, updates of their GIS, or the town's parcel layer. We haven't finished reviewing, I think, what they've done yet. So I don't think it's been posted up onto the viewer yet, but, so at least that aspect.
The vision place.
Not so much the vision one, but just the web maps on the tax maps and everything. We had given them a grant, I think, to do some parcel updates to try to make the parcel lines match a little more reality based on some surveys and stuff.
Okay. Next item, audience comments. Our audience has all left. I don't see anybody online either, so. Okay. Last item.
Make a motion to adjourn.
You have a second?
Second motion.
John, so we have a motion by Steve and we have a second by John. All those in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
I have one last thing for you guys. Didn't have to have a
Bonus?
meeting. You guys can do this at home.
Oh,
Your phone. Survey.
survey?
Yep.
Survey, so.
We're doing a grant with, a couple other cogs. Inland's called the Inland Connecticut Transportation Resilience.
I love acronyms,
I
right?
know, it's crazy.
Big government acronym,
Basically, they got a big grant to do, a study on flooding of culverts and roads throughout the, local and state roads so they're just asking a short little survey, if you know places in your local area that flood all the time, that impact your commute or your ride or whatever.
Could it be the next town over?
Anywhere, yep, anywhere that's in our cog or that's shown in those colored areas, feel free to, I think there's like a map in there, pop a point as part of that survey.
So Jim, I have a question on this subdivision.
Yes, sir.
Has a place for Jason to sign it?
That's after the Mylars are.
But then it says it has an expiration date as well. What's the purpose of that?
Well, see, technically, subdivision applications usually are 5 years they're good for. We have 5 years to complete a subdivision, I think it is. 10 years, I don't remember which, but 5 years to start your improvements and then so many years to complete. But usually with a one lot subdivision that has frontage.
Yeah.
There is no real, because there's no, new road that's required or no public improvements,
Doesn't
there's
matter.
no it doesn't matter.
Okay, so if you had a subdivision in